Yo, what's going on guys, Arekkz here, welcome back to another Destiny 2 video, and today we are going to be talking about something super exciting. I am, of course, really looking forward to Destiny 2, as I'm sure a lot of you guys are, but the one thing that I love to do above all else is explore, and up until now, that's the one thing we haven't really seen a great deal of. Sure, we got a bit of it from the IGN first coverage, but in truth, exploring the open worlds has been a pretty closed topic. Until today. The media embargo lifted, and it seems like a handful of game journalists had a chance to go hands-on with Destiny 2 last week and explore the European Dead Zone. On top of that, Bungie also released an official trailer for the EDZ, and there are of course also a number of articles speaking about some of the stuff we can get up to. Of course, some of it we already know a bit about, patrols, adventures, lost sectors, but at the same time, this flurry of new gameplay gives us a much deeper look at all of that, and we even get a glimpse at a new exotic weapon called the Graviton Lance. There's also mention of what could potentially be a rather exciting upgrade system for our subclasses, and plenty more too. So in this video, I'm going to go over everything we currently know about the EDZ from the recent information. If you do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated, and be sure to comment down below and let me know what you guys think. Now, to begin with, let's start with the new exotic, since it's not directly related to the EDZ, but it is something we saw in some of the gameplay. Whilst visiting one of the world NPCs, Devrim K, whom I'll speak a little bit more about shortly, they were hovering over some of the items he had for sale, and they did a quick comparison with the weapon they had equipped, a weapon called the Graviton Lance. Now, since they didn't inspect it in a menu, we don't know 100% what this gun is, but if you cast your mind back to the official launch trailer they dropped this week, this gun here, the gun we thought could potentially have been an exotic, I'd be willing to bet it is this. If you read the description, you can see it is a void weapon, a pulse rifle, which clearly matches the fire pattern for the weapon based on what we've seen, and it has an interesting set of perks. Black Hole makes it so that the third shot in a burst does more damage, and the second perk makes it so that kills with the weapon cause enemy targets to detonate, which looks remarkably like what happened here. Pair that with the nuking ability that happens when you destroy an elemental shield of an enemy using a kinetic weapon, and you have a pretty lethal combination. Rather interestingly, you'll also notice that this particular exotic only requires that players be level 11, so I guess we'll also get exposed to those a little earlier in Destiny 2, and since we know infusion is a thing, we know it's something we can bring with us. It definitely looks like an awesome weapon, assuming of course it is this. I'm a big fan of the sort of simple carbon fibre design, and that sweet purple scope. But anyway, moving on, since we're here already, now let's talk about world NPCs, or main/lead NPCs. Essentially, each map or planet, EDZ, Nessus, Io, and Titan, will have a lead or a main NPC outside of the farm social space. These NPCs have their own reputation system, and they also sell you items and speak to you whilst you're out on your quests or your adventures. In the case of the EDZ, that is Devrim K. He is the guy we saw back during the reveal trailer with a sniper that looks like a wrapped up No Land Beyond. You can find him here in the Trostland, and there's a conveniently placed landing zone very nearby, so anytime you want to go back and buy stuff or hand stuff in, it is very easy to get to him. Speaking of which, buying stuff from him, how does it work? Well, first things first, the green basic gear he sells is sold in exchange for Glimmer, your standard Destiny currency. Not sure whether as you level up he sells you blue or even legendary gear, so for the time being we'll have to wait and see. But on top of that, he also has these two nodes here. You can trade in EDZ tokens or Dusklight shards for reputation. And when you level up, you get an engram. The cool thing is that you can inspect the engram to see some of the stuff that you can get from it. However, if I jump back for a moment to talk about those two reputation currency items, EDZ tokens and Dusklight shards. EDZ tokens come from pretty much everything you do. You can get them from chests, from public events, adventures, you name it. They're a general currency for doing stuff around the EDZ. And I'd imagine, given the way they're named, there'll probably also be Nessus tokens, Io tokens, and Titan tokens. The Dusklight shards, on the other hand, are a material that you collect similar to that of relic iron, spin metal, or other types of material of old. I don't know at this stage whether this item has another use. The PlayStation video spoke briefly about them, and went on to say that there's stuff they can't say, so for the purposes of their video, they're reputation items. That makes me think they could also be items for something else, sort of like how relic iron or spin metal could be traded in for rep or used for other stuff. Either way, while exploring the EDZ and doing activities, you'll naturally accrue those tokens, and you'll want to be on the lookout for those shards. Definitely something I'll be looking for a kind of good farming route for if possible. Now moving on from there for a moment, something else I want to speak about, and again, isn't directly related to the EDZ, but that is potential subclass upgrades. Up until now, subclasses in Destiny 2 have looked pretty limited, and none of the gameplay that we've seen today shows any hints at anything different. However, during the Game Informer video, which is linked down below, in fact all the relevant videos are linked down below, if you watch them all there's over 2 hours worth of EDZ gameplay from different outlets. But during the Game Informer discussion, they were talking about the Warlock, how they're good in the air and whatnot, and they then said that something they can't show is the way that you upgrade your subclasses. There are different ways to upgrade, but Bungie didn't want to show any of that stuff now. They've made a conscious choice to hold off on revealing a lot of stuff, and according to Game Informer, one of the most significant is that upgrade system. Now obviously without seeing it or knowing about it, it's hard to say exactly what it is, but it might well be that super streamlined subclasses that we've seen and used aren't the final thing. What if when you get to endgame or you hit max level and suddenly once we're level 20, we're then able to upgrade in a whole manner of different ways? What if there are new abilities we haven't seen, and perhaps this in itself is how the third subclasses factor in? In this gameplay segment here, you can see that when you level up, you get an upgrade point, but that is a different point than what is used to purchase these nodes in the subclass trees. These are items that come from rewards from adventures or other activities. Additionally, something else interesting that popped up, milestones seem to be a way to track what you are doing. Various activities, missions, strikes, challenges, etc. There are completion percentages linked to them and rewards for when you do them. But at the very top, this is super exciting. Here we can see a quest called Arc Light Stirring. Rekindle your lost abilities by defeating enemies and fighting alongside fellow Guardians in public events. And it seems that the reward is a new subclass itself. Interestingly, in the PlayStation gameplay at the very top of the map, something they didn't hover over was this purple icon here. This looks remarkably like this icon on the milestones, so it could well be, since they were playing as a Warlock, that node up there is for the Voidwalker subclass quest. Possibly. We do know that getting our subclass and abilities is tied to the Shard of the Traveller, and most likely these crystals in the EDZ, so perhaps this is a glimpse at the process involved. But either way, if subclasses do in fact end up being deeper than we thought, good lord, I'm going to be excited. Now, something else I want to speak about are regional chests. These little icons on the map are actually chests. They can't be tracked, so you simply need to go to the rough area and then mooch around, jump around and try and find them. But these are similar to the gold chests of old. You open them and you get some stuff. Again, tokens, maybe some gear and some shaders. And that actually segues nicely into my talk about shaders. This is something I've seen in 3 separate gameplay videos, but shaders seem to drop in stacks of 3. Now, if you cast your mind back to the beta, when we inspected the gear or the weapons, we know that they have slots for shaders. We also know this means different parts can be coloured independently, but since duplicate shaders are dropping in stacks, this might also mean that they are a single-use item, like chroma. You could apply them, and they're then bound to that piece of gear. Maybe you can unequip them and put them somewhere else, we don't know. But since they drop in stacks, that would make logical sense. I mean, if they worked like shaders of old, duplicates would have no value, because when you have one shader, you can put it on whatever you like. So that is a possible change to the way that shaders will be working. Something else you'll encounter whilst on patrol are of course high value targets. These are named yellow bar enemies. They're stronger, tougher, and when you encounter one or you get near one, you're going to pop up on screen to inform you that they're near. If you successfully kill one, then a chest will spawn on their dead body, and once again you can open this for loot, tokens, and more. In addition to that, scanning is back, and this links into something called hidden lore. Bungie have said they're looking to weave lore more heavily into the game itself, and this is one of the ways they intend to do this. Items around the world that you scan then reveal information about the story, characters, or the place that you're in. So if you're trying to get the most out of the game, then this will be something that you want to seek out, especially the lore guys out there. Now during these gameplay videos, we got a good glimpse at adventures, and I've got to say, they look pretty meaty. Some of the gameplay was of course cut up, but Bungie have said in various interviews in the past that they are a good, meaty sized mission, about sort of 10 to 15 minutes in length, and while they might not have the same weight as an actual story mission, they do still provide you with loot, additional narrative, and of course a means to just earn more stuff in the process. It is however worth mentioning that adventures can only be played once, so unlike story missions which can be replayed, adventures are something that you will progressively check off your map. Of course, lost sectors, they are something we've heard a fair bit about, but we got to see some of them in action. Again, to recap, these are hidden locations marked by symbols, and when you see that symbol, you then go snooping around trying to find the entrance. Some of them are pretty well hidden, and are pretty intricately laid out when you're inside, but when you ultimately get to the end, you defeat the boss, another named enemy, and you'll get a key or a cache code. This is then used to open the chest nearby, which again contains loot, tokens, shaders, the usual sort of stuff. Whether the loot scales, again, we don't know, and whether exotics can drop from these chests, we also don't know. But regardless, finding these lost sectors is going to be super good fun, and it seems the game actually tracks them for you too. It won't tell you where they are, but when you pull up your ghost, it might just say that there are lost sectors in your activities. Of course, on top of that, you have public events, similar to what we've seen before, but they do look considerably more challenging. Bungie have said they want to make the gameplay for these more exciting, and one way they're doing this is introducing heroic modifiers. A public event can be completed normally, or you can complete the heroic version. In order to do the latter, you need to trigger it, but the game won't tell you how. So there'll be some trial and error involved. You'll basically have to play and discover the way to trigger the heroic modifier. If you do it and you complete it, then you get more loot in the process. Completing a public event will drop a chest again. There are these chests that basically drop everywhere, so I guess instead of just having the loot pop up on the side of the screen, or like these engrams fall out, you actually get a big distinctive chest. And they said that if you kind of get a heroic one, there'll probably be a second one that spawns. And of course, the other handy thing about public events now is that they're marked on the map with timers, and thanks to the landing zones, you can also zip around the map should you need to. So if you see one's about to start in like 30 seconds, then you can probably get there very quickly. Speaking of the map, your location is also shown, so now not only do we have a map in-game, which is awesome, because we never had that in Destiny 1, but we can also know where we are at all times. And that, my friends, for the time being, is pretty much it. That is a recap of all the most important and exciting information. Of course, if you do want to dive deep and watch tons of gameplay, then all the relevant videos are down below. There's stuff from PlayStation, from Game Informer, from Games Radar, so check those out. But if not, then you at least have a good summary of some of the stuff we get up to. The maps do look pretty big, and thanks to the seamless nature of a lot of these activities, there will be considerably fewer interruptions. As I said at the start, I was excited before, but this is what I've been waiting for. Now, I genuinely cannot wait. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And if you also haven't entered my PS4 Pro giveaway, then be sure to check out that linked down below. It's running for another week, so it's a chance to win a PS4 Pro. But for the time being, thank you for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.